Another experience when you're up here, so to speak, sitting or standing, is distortion effect. This is a very, I think, interesting phenomenon, actually. And again, almost all of us experience a degree of distortion effect when we're presenting. One very simple example is that when you are up here, time can pass seemingly in a different fashion to how it actually is passing. Therefore, for example, generally speaking, I believe, Judy, you know this, when it's going smoothly, when it's going well, when you're happy with it, when the audience appears to be very happy and are vocalising that to you, you notice how sometimes 10 minutes can feel like a minute, or 30 minutes can feel like 5 minutes. That's one example of time distortion effect. Conversely, when it's going badly, again, I'm sure you have experience of this, I certainly do, it can be terrible in the sense that the time distortion reverses and what is only a minute can feel like an hour. And this is partly because we've become acutely aware of tiny microscopic actions, words, moments, movements and so on, moods. And as you know, when you become very obsessed with granular, tiny things and moments, it can sometimes seemingly slow everything down. Now, if it's good, that's great, and if it's not, it's not. Therefore, when you're presenting Jidda, it can be useful to remember distortion effect. So if whilst you're presenting, you have a moment where you say, and the next thing I want to do is look at, and you forget, remember that you might experience a moment of distortion effect where your internal clock, if you like, really slows down. And this can cause, again, I'm sure you experience this feeling of, oh my God, it's all going wrong and it's slowing down and they're all looking at me and it's embarrassing, you know. But actually what usually happens in reality is this, it looks like this. Okay, so next what I want to look at is, yes, I want to look at how we move forward over the next 12 months. So there's just like a beat and and that's all pretty much. But distortion effect and the imagination love to magnify it and make it seem like it's something very other than what it actually was. Okay. Now, this next item is very, very useful if you are experiencing magnification quite extremely. And it's simply this. I'll write the second half down in a moment. The first half is basically test the thought, test it. Therefore, for example, you can do this during, but definitely after you've given a presentation. Therefore, if you have an experience of magnification where you trip over a word, you drop your pen, or you blank, etc., this loves to use absolute statements. So for example, say you're always dropping your pen, you always do this, you never present without forgetting what you're saying. So it loves to use absolute statements, and therefore the word always can often creep into it. Always. Well, test it during, if you can, and definitely after. E.g., in the last 10 presentations I've given, how many times have I dropped my pen? How many times have I completely blanked? And what's really interesting is that more often than not, like way more often than not, the answers are, well, hardly ever. Now, technically as well, the next level up is, well, if in the last 10 presentations you had a beat where you blanked for a moment and say that was for 2-3 seconds, and you've done that once on all 10 of your presentations, that too probably is not a big deal, you know? Because if you're giving a presentation for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and you have 1 2-second beat, oh yes, where you forget what you're saying, that's fine, that's absolutely fine. Some purists will argue, no, sometimes it's not fine, sometimes you have to be perfect. Well, be careful with this thing called perfection, and we'll look at that on another video. Certainly in some contexts you will want to do better, you will feel you need to be even better when you're presenting. But those contexts are not common unless you work in certain industries where that's your daily job perhaps. We can look at that too, of course. And therefore, as well as testing the thought, you can conduct a frequency check. Therefore, test the thought. It could be as simple as, is it true that whenever I present, I'm rubbish because I'm constantly forgetting what I'm saying? Notice the word constantly, absolute statement. And more often than not, like I said, you'll find that the truth is actually very different to the magnification. And secondly, therefore, as I said, you can do a frequency check if you like. How many times do I ... And again, almost always you will find that in terms of how many times you do something, it's very low, it's very occasional, it's once or twice. On the rare occasion, and I find this is the case for almost everyone, on the rare occasion the frequency is quite high, therefore, for example, you say, oh, I've now realised that in the last 10 presentations, on average I dropped my pen about 5-6 times on the floor. Okay, now maybe you've spotted something, and therefore it gives you an opportunity to focus on that and address it. Okay, next item. Yeah, personally for me, this next item is a bit kind of, it's a bit like, is that what you've got? For many years I used to think, this is not sexy, it's not really interesting, it's not very complex, I know it already, I do it already. And what I found from running courses since 1999 on this topic, I've noticed, yeah, to a degree, but also I've noticed, keep these on the radar. Keep these on the radar, because a modicum of effort in these two areas, will genuinely help with your confidence, and of course it will make you better when you present. And it's two old friends. A modicum of preparation. I believe, Judy, you know that one way to ensure that when you go into a room to present to a group of people in such a fashion that you feel terrible and it's mediocre or poor is to do no preparation at all, or just to wing it. That is a surefire way, of course, of enhancing the opportunity for you to feel really, really awful. So therefore, quite simply, I'm not going to go on about this, but if any of you want me to make a video on particulars on this, tell me and I'll make you a video. A modicum of preparation. Just put in a modicum of preparation. That will definitely help. Second friend, a modicum of effort. Put in a modicum of effort. And of course, as you know, again, when you put in some effort when you're in the room, I'm referring to in the room here, again, you heighten the potential for it to go well or better, and you heighten the potential for you during and afterwards to feel better about what you're doing. Again, a surefire way to get the antithesis of those experiences is to not put any effort when you're in the room, or just kind of like, you know, oh, I don't really like presenting, I hate it to be honest, so I think we can do this in 2 minutes. It's very simple. Basically, do this, don't do that, and don't ever touch that. Okay, any questions? No? Good, fine. So, you know, a modicum of effort when you're in the room.